For the recording, welcome back. We are ACI Course 8, Class 4. It's May 12th, 2025. Let's gather our minds here as we usually do. Please bring your attention to your breath until you hear from me again. Now bring to mind that being who for you is a manifestation of ultimate love, ultimate compassion, ultimate wisdom. See them there with you, gazing at you with their unconditional love for you, smiling at you with their holy great compassion, their wisdom radiating from them, encompassing you in its light. And then we hear them say, bring to mind someone you know who's hurting in some way. Feel how much you would like to be able to help them. Recognize that the worldly ways we try fall short. How wonderful it will be when we can also help in some deep and ultimate way, a way through which they will go on to stop their distress forever. Deep down, we know this is possible. Deep down, we know this is what we're meant to do, meant to become. And understanding even a little about the marriage of karma and emptiness, we get glimpses as to how it's possible, how it's actually inevitable, in fact. So I invite you to grow that wish into a longing, into an intention, even into a determination if you feel ready. Then turn your mind back to your precious holy being. We know that they know what we need to know yet, what we need to do yet, what we need to learn yet. Become one who can help this other in this deep and ultimate way. And so we ask them, please, 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 teach us that. And they are so happy that we've asked. Of course, they agree. Our gratitude arises. We want to offer them something exquisite. And so we think of the perfect world they are teaching us how to create. We imagine we can hold it in our hands, and we offer it to them, following it with our promise to practice what they teach us, using our refuge prayer to make our promise. Here is the great earth, filled with fragrant incense and covered with the blanket of flowers. The great mountain, 4 lands, wearing the jewel of the sun and the moon. In my mind, I make them the paradise of a Buddha and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kaunirya. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may all beings reach their total awakening for the benefit of every single other. So today is Wesak for anyone who celebrates. For Hinayana traditions, it's a really special day. And they say this special ceremony happens in a deep, deep secret valley in the Himalaya mountains that only the high masters and some practitioners know about. And they gather there, and Lord Maitreya, goes. He oversees the ceremony, and the highest ones under his direction do this, like, I don't know, they get in these different positions that form different shapes, and as he's saying, certain verses and certain prayers, he's holding the staff, and there's a vase of water, and this group of beings are shape-shifting this thing as Lord Maitreya is doing his invocation. And just as the moon is coming to its full, not rising, but the moment of the full moon, he invokes Shakyamuni Buddha, and Shakyamuni Buddha appears in the sky. And, huge, giving blessings, and everybody there, the ascended, everybody like hits their face to the earth, but it's like, surely they peak so they get to see him, And this blessing goes out over all the world that Lord Buddha appears. And it doesn't last.
How do you spell it? I mean, what is the
Wesak,
name?
Wesak, sometimes Vesak, and it's pronounced Wesik, somehow a W and a V mixed together, Wesik. And, you know, I don't know how long the apparition stays. It's not an apparition, it's Lord Buddha. And then the water in the vase, of course, receives the blessing and they distribute the water. Everybody has a party and then goes home. And it happens again another year. So theoretically, I don't mean theoretically, that's happening. And I don't understand that thing about the moment of the full moon, but it's happening 4 hours from now. Like in our time zone, the moment of the full moon is 9:56 a.m. So that means wherever in the world, 9:56 a.m. is for us, that's happening everywhere. So it's like, I like to tune in and imagine, you know, maybe I could spy on it, or maybe I could be there or something. And anyway, so it's 5 a.m. here, 6, 7, 8, 9, 4 hours and 45 minutes. Woohoo! So that is not from ACI, right? I learned about that in Theosophy. So anyway, it's a fun thing for us to be doing class on Wesik, like a merit multiplier day. It's one of those days. Okay. So last class, we learned about hungry ghosts and animals. And we were studying from not Abhidharma Kosha, but from the Tenrim Chenmo by Geshe Drolungpa from the 11th, 12th century. Does that mean 1100s? I get confused about that. And then that book inspired Jetson Kapis Lamrim Chenmo. So we're actually, the information that we got for last class was from the great book on the steps of the teachings by Geshe Drolungpa. And we learned that, we learned lots, but one of the things we learned was that there's one general and 3 specific causes that might make us take birth as a hungry ghost, if you recall. And the general cause was making the karma of by having done any one of the 10 non-virtues at medium degree. And then the 3 specific causes would be a karmic seed planted by way of failing to give the 3 kinds of giving: material things, protection, and dharma. The second specific was seeds planted out of possessiveness. And the third would be seeds planted out of jealousy. And again, the idea is the more jealousy seeds, right, we've got in our mind, the more possible it is that a jealousy seed could be the one that projects at the moment of death, meaning in the chaos of death, jealousy is inside there as well. The only reason it would be if we had a habit of being jealous in that whole lifetime, there's no reason to think that would go away as we're going through dying. So again, it's not like one instant of jealousy and you're headed for hungry ghost. That seed has to be the one that is the projection karma at the moment of death. So the more of them we have, the more likely that can be. That's the point. Then your quiz asked, name 1 general and 2 specific causes for birth as an animal. And the general cause, any of the 10 non-virtues done to a lesser extent, like meaning by accident, by carelessness, by not really caring about our behavior, not carelessness being not caring what happens to the other, and then carelessness about not caring about our own morality, like just general. Okay, so 10 non-virtues to the lesser extent, and the two specific causes: breaking minor rules of morality repeatedly. And then the second one was doing a great number of wrong deeds, such as disrespecting others. So I think the important piece is the disrespect, because the relationship that animals have with humans, or that humans have with animals, is that they really are disrespected. And so we're willing to use them in all different kinds of ways. So what will land us as an animal experience is making the seeds that would ripen as us in the position of being the one disrespected. Okay. All right, so this class moves on then to speak to the existence of humans and pleasure beings. Recall that we are studying death in the realms of existence, in part so that we know what beings are needing our help, and in part to become more aware of what our future could hold, to help motivate us. Like, either way, this course is supposed to motivate us. And, I don't know, I lose students at this course because it's, anyway, kind of hard to get inspired. Anyway, so in Abhidharma Kosha, it apparently goes into the specifics of geography and the different kinds of humans on different continents. Remember the 37-pile mandala, and there are the 4 continents, and each of those continents has a different version of what's human, still human, but, not these kind. And, it probably would be really interesting. But Geshe-la he felt it was more important for us to understand the sufferings that are unique to humans and pleasure beings. So he shifted over to the Delom text by our hero, the first Panchen Lama, Lobsang Chuki Gyaltsen. So let me get our vocabulary up here. Let's make us bigger. And across. There we go. First Panchen Lama, that's his title. Lobsang Chuki Gyaltsen, that's his name. His dates 1567 to 1662. Panchen means Mahapandita, great master. The Tibetan for great master. Lama means high one, of course. And then Lobsang, pure mind. It means he's in the lineage of Jetsongkhapa. Chuki Gyaltsen, Chuki means Dharma, one of the Dharma. And Gyaltsen is a victory banner. So, when your army wins the war, you march through your new place, right, holding this flag, and then you stick the flag in the ground, and that's our victory banner. So his name is Pure Mind Banner, Victory Banner of the Dharma. We've heard how extraordinary he is. And he was the first then of a line of reincarnate beings. And the system of Tibet's Dalai Lama was just coming into being. And first Panchen Lama was the one who took over from the Dalai Lama when that Dalai Lama passed. And then he helped train the next one. And then from that came the system of when the Dalai Lama is in the, Dalai Lama has withdrawn emanation, but the new one isn't old enough to take over. The Panchen Lama would lead. And then when the new Dalai Lama was ready to take over, the Panchen Lama steps back. So there is a lineage of Panchen Lamas until recently. So here's this one. We know how extraordinary he is. We've heard his amazing stories. His text, Dalam. Lam we know as path. Day means easy or blissful. So they call this text the easy path or the path to bliss. And we studied that text for the first year in Diamond Way course at Diamond Mountain. It was the first year of our tantric training was to study this textbook. And then, recently, Jigme and Gyaltse taught the Dalam. Now, Dalam can be taught as a sutra teaching, and it can be taught as a Diamond Way teaching. And it's this bridge, right? It's a sutra teaching where you get glimpses into Diamond Way, which is why Geshe Michael asked them to teach it last year. So maybe you've studied that text, maybe not, doesn't matter. If you go on with me, we will someday. But here we're getting the information from the Dalam that Geshe Michael felt was more important for us for understanding our human reality and the reality of pleasure beings of the desire realm, not the form realm, not the formless realm, desire realm, pleasure beings. It's funny because we would think, I'm human, I know all about being human. And first Panchen Lama, he says, actually, there are 6 kinds of sufferings that humans have that most humans don't understand about themselves and about their other humans. And that without that understanding, we won't stay motivated enough to do what we need to do to stop suffering, right? We say, I want to be a Buddha so I can stop the suffering of all sentient beings. Well, if you don't understand how they're suffering, how are you going to stop it? So we really do need to master all the different kinds of suffering. And of course, our heart doesn't want to do that. Like, I suffer enough. I don't need to feel what it feels like to have a kidney stone to know that I want to stop kidney stone pain for everybody. But what if you'd never heard of kidney stone? It wouldn't be on your radar screen to help people stop having kidney stones if you don't know anything about them. So there's 6 kinds of sufferings that humans have that we apparently don't know about, meaning we don't recognize that they're suffering. Okay, so I got ahead of myself. We're also learning from a commentary to the Dalam called Rinchen Bangzu. Rinchen means jewels and Bangzu means chest. So Rinchen Bangzu is chest of jewels, like your treasure chest, right? And it was written by someone named Nulcha Dharmabhadra. 1772 to 1851. Nolcha Dharma Bhadra is a Lama that in our Diamond Way tradition, we will get very familiar with. He wrote texts and instructions and sadhana. He's a great practitioner. Nulchu means quicksilver, mercury. So often he's just called Quicksilver in the English translations. So it's helpful to know. When Geshe used that text to teach this class in the mid-1990s, that was the first time Rinchen Bangzu had been translated into English. Of course, now it's old, right? But still, it's not like, it was never published so that people are familiar with it. So it really is special in your reading to have access to that. So De Lam says, in order to understand humans and the human world, we need to understand Dunyal Druk. Here it is, Dunyal Druk. Druk is the number 6. Dunyal, we know, is suffering. So the 6 sufferings. When we say, I want to stop the suffering of all sentient beings, when it comes to humans, these are the 6 sufferings we are saying we want to stop. So we need to know them. Geshe said, if you were to say you had a friend or coworker and you're talking about, I don't know, what you do in your off time, and you say, oh, I study and practice Buddhism. And they say, well, why do you do that? We would probably say, because all life is suffering, and we know what we mean by that. If we were having the discussion between us, we wouldn't have to explain it. But this other person is likely to say, come on, I don't agree with that. I'm having a good day. This tea tastes good. My spouse is great. My kids are great most of the time. Come on. Life's good, mostly. And we would say, no, it's all suffering. It's either obvious suffering or the suffering of change or pervasive suffering. You're going to lose it all. You're going to get old. You're going to get sick. You're going to die in some order of that. Kegan Nachi. And they might say, yeah, well, it hasn't happened yet. I'm healthy. I'm young. I can do stuff. I'm okay. You're so obsessed with suffering. That's your problem, Just look on the bright side. Panchen Lama says, human suffering is harder to understand, harder to be aware of than the other sufferings we've been talking about. We don't want to admit it, one thing. And the suffering is more subtle. Then for pleasure beings, they have these same 6, only it's even harder to understand because the goodness of the deep meditation that planted the seed that pushed them into their lifetime as a pleasure being is a seed that's ripening pleasure, 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 pleasure. But it is subtly still having these 6 sufferings that only become obvious when the seeds for all that pleasure are are wearing out, like they are wearing out, but running out. And then when they run out in this last short period of time, boom, these sufferings kick in really fast. And then they lose it all and down they fall. Neither most humans nor suffering beings or pleasure beings, excuse me, are suffering moment to moment like the other realms are. Which is why they are considered a higher rebirth, and is why they are a dead end. Unless we do something special with our human life, which we're not able to do from a pleasure being life, because by the time you're aware of the suffering that you would want to stop, you don't have enough time to do anything. And during the time that you're having so much pleasure, you're not aware that you're having any kind of suffering. There's no motivation to do anything to stop future suffering. So really, the human realm is the perfect realm for stepping onto and using our time for a spiritual life that guides us in this method of stopping all that suffering. And what we'll learn towards the end of this course is, and our window of opportunity is short. And anyway, so what are these 6 sufferings of human and pleasure beings? One, two, three, four, five, 6. Okay. First one, Nyepa Mepa. Nyepa means fixed, as in, attached. And then Mepa means not. So the first suffering of humans and pleasure beings is that nothing is fixed, meaning things shift so unpredictably. 1 minute Sally's my best friend, then something happens and all of a sudden we're fighting and hating each other. Very likely we've all had some kind of similar experience. Things are constantly shifting. They're never stable. We want them to be stable. We want something to be reliable. And, we don't want things to be fixed like they're stuck to the floor and you can't ever move or change them. But we want things to be predictable and reliable. And, we want some sameness. We expect that when we fall in love with somebody, we're going to stay in love with them forever. And we know from experience, even if we do stay in love with them, that love changes. And we have hard days and good days. And in the end, we lose them. Either we die or they die or something happens and we stop loving them. And it's constant because of the way in which that karma is made. Right? It's right. Karma shifts. Karma. 65 per instant. No wonder nothing's fixed. It doesn't have to be a suffering that things are not fixed, but it is. Right? As humans, we want things predictable, reliable, and they're not. Every desirable thing will wear out. it will change. It will go from something that gives us pleasure to not giving us pleasure anymore, because that object and the pleasure we think it gives us is all being projected. It's all results of karmic seeds. Those seeds ripen and pass, ripen and pass, ripen and pass. There's not an unlimited amount of those seeds for your mother's favorite teapot. And so when my mother's favorite teapot that I keep, that I find so precious, gets dropped or broken, I get upset. Oh, my mother's favorite teapot. It reminded me of her. It's like, I don't have one, but I'm just using the example. We expect and want things to stay the same. And of course they don't, they can't. Even if we didn't understand about karma, we know things are impermanent. We know that teapot's gonna die someday. Something's gonna happen to it or me. So, and how do I know that? Because it happened to my mom, right? It was her favorite teapot and now she's gone. So it's like, it's so obvious, but we somehow like suffer from things not being fixed and we're not even aware of it, right? That we have this need for things to be reliable and they're not. And that's a human suffering. Mm. And pleasure being suffering, but they're not aware of it till the last few days. Geshe says, you know, when we are experiencing something that is wonderful, let's call it another person. Oh, they're so wonderful. And we're ripening results of our own past having been wonderful for another. When our seeds change and they're not so wonderful anymore, we are ripening seeds from past times when we were not so wonderful to somebody else. They don't change. Our karmic seeds making them is what changes, that makes our experience of the other go from, oh, they're so wonderful, to, ew, I don't want any part of them, or whatever, you know, in between. Nepa mepa. Same thing is happening in what we call old age. Youth is a ripening of goodness, of virtue, of goodness. And when that goodness wears out, the ripening is old age. It's not that we are young and then we are old, it's our seeds are shifting. So we can't stay the same because our seeds are always different. Second one, Nyomi Shepa here. Nyomi Shepa. Nyomi Shepa altogether means we can't get satisfaction. And it always brings to mind, right? Everybody's mind, that song, right? I can't get no satisfaction. I don't know. Everybody knows that. So it's exactly what this is trying to convey. We see something we want. We do something to get it. They say once we get it, it becomes a part of us. And it's like, it's not like we're an amoeba, you know, and my cell phone becomes, you know, goes into my body. But all those things that we own that, right, are ours, they are, our identity extends to include them once we have them. And it's supposed to make us happy. That's why we did whatever we did to get the thing, is because the thing's going to bring us happiness, right? Otherwise, we wouldn't go to the effort to get something. So we go after it in order for it to increase our happiness, our pleasure, by it becoming a part of our being, right? We don't think, oh, it becomes a part of me, but it does. And yet what we then experience is that sooner or later, that very thing that was meant to bring us happiness and pleasure doesn't. Maybe right away, right? We go to great trouble to get that promotion. And then we get the promotion and, oh my gosh, I hate this job, right? It turns out it wasn't what you expected. Or we go to great trouble, great lengths to get that car that we've always wanted. And wow, it feels so great to have that car. And then, I don't know how long later, 5 years later, 10 years later, the car breaks down on your way to work and makes you late. And, you know, for 10 years, that car gave me great pleasure. But all of a sudden it betrayed me, you know, it became not reliable. And so you fix it, and a year later, it does something else, you fix it again, right? You're this precious car that gave so much pleasure. Now it's being a source of trouble. Because of all that time that it was a source of our pleasure, we're so sure that it really was the source of our pleasure. And then it's like, not anymore. And we blame it. But technically, we set into motion that can't be satisfied. I mean, we never set it into motion. It's inherent in the great mistake that colors the process of existence, that any thing or other that we reach to as the source of our happiness will not satisfy us. If it seems to at the beginning, it's not it that's bringing us, the pleasure. If it was the other that is the source of the pleasure, then we should be able to rely upon it. But then even if it were the source of the pleasure, it's wearing out. You know, any functioning thing, which it would be if it's functioning to give me pleasure, is gonna wear out. So even if we're trying to blame it wisely, we're still mistaken. Because the pleasure we're feeling in the moment is not actually related to the object. It's related to the ripening of some kind of kindness that we've done in the past. And then that object is, you know, part of the ripening of that past goodness seed. We can't get satisfied. It is human realm, pleasure being realm, that nothing satisfies us. If we think it does, it's temporary. And when it stops satisfying us, it's suffering, which means it was always suffering, right? Causing us suffering because we thought the satisfaction we got was coming from it, which means we are willing to do stuff that's not very kind to keep it. Maybe we were willing to do something not so very kind to get it in the first place. thinking, oh, it will give me pleasure. If it gives us pleasure, right? If we lie to get the deal and we get the hat and get to keep the $25, if we had that example in this class, I get confused between my two classes. That we think every time we wear the hat, we're going to be so happy, or every time we see the hat, we're going to be so happy. And when we are happy from seeing the hat, we say, see, the hat makes me happy. But we got the hat and we lied to get the hat, thinking the lie got me the hat is mistaken. Because getting the hat is a good thing. It had to be a result of some kindness we did, not from telling a lie. So again, karmic understanding shows us these 6 sufferings very clearly. But until we are like really tuned to things being karmic ripenings and nothing but, this can't get any satisfaction. We argue about that. No, mostly I am satisfied. Yeah, but not mostly isn't satisfied. So again, our disappointment comes in our expectation that the thing is going to make me happy, and then it's supposed to keep making me happy. And it doesn't, because it never did. And meanwhile, we made the karma of whatever it is we got it, whatever it is we had to do to get it. And then we need to continue to make karma to keep it. Yeah, so we can't get any satisfaction. It's the nature of our mind, and it's constant. Constant. But doesn't have to be, which is why we study and practice with our understanding of karmic seeds in our behavior. Geshe-la says again, Buddhist practice is not about learning how to be a better crap coper. Just cope better with your constant dissatisfaction. It's about stopping all of this. Nyomi Shepa, I can't get any satisfaction. Number 3, Yang Yang Lundorwa. We see Yang Yang 3 times here. Yang Yang means again and again. Again and again and again and again. Over and over. This one, Lundorwa. Lu means body. And Dorwa means shed. Like the snake sheds its skin. The human and pleasure being suffering of having to shed our bodies over and over and over. Well, that really is one that we're not very aware of. And it isn't, is it a suffering that we go from life to life to life? And it's like, yeah, it is, because it happens so out of control. And then what if we don't even believe it? Does it still happen if we don't believe that there's past and future lifetimes? It's not about belief, but then it's also not about a truth that somebody made be truth, right? It's a ramification of the process of reality is, right? The mind goes on, the awareness, it can't stop. So it is true that it's a suffering to be forced into a rebirth, which is what it would mean to take on a new body again and again. And of course, it's a suffering if that new body isn't necessarily a human body. Suffering to get another human body, more suffering to get an animal body, even more to get a craving spirit, even more to get a hell realm. one and still is suffering to get a pleasure being one, because it's going to wear out, right? The very fact of being forced into rebirth is a suffering, but that's not really what this suffering is alluding to, says first Panchen Lama. The human suffering here about the body is that while we have our body, we go to such great pains to take care of it. Like it's our constant concern to feed it, to bathe it, to get it to bed on time, to rest it when it's tired, to pamper it when it's sick. And it's like, until I heard this class a half a dozen times, it was like, I don't have that relationship with my body, right? I like whip it into shape, I make it do stuff, I discipline it. But even then, it's not like me's over here and my body is here and I'm dealing with it like I would a pet dog, or something. It's just like me. And I feed me and I take care of me in the form of this body, because my idea is this is me. And with that perception, this is me, it's sort of first concern. Like it's at the front of the line always. Right? I need this. I want that. Even when it's like it's subtle. We're talking about subtle human sufferings. It's a suffering to have the needs of this be first up on our mind constantly. No, it's not. If I didn't have me in mind constantly, I'd walk out in front of traffic, I'd play on the railroad tracks. I wouldn't have any concern about protecting me if this wasn't right up front in my mind constantly. That's not a suffering. Panchen Lama says, big mistake to think that way. Because when this need is the first, it means others' needs are less important. And when others' needs are less important, I'm willing to think, say, do stuff to take care of this over and above a need that some other it has. And that karma is the karma that makes this thing get old, get sick, wear out. To put its needs over someone else's needs makes suffering. And it's hard to grasp that. No, it would be suffering if I never ate because I gave all the food away. That would be a suffering. And it's like, could any seed of giving food away ever ripen the experience of not having enough to eat? But wait, if I give all my food away, I have nothing to eat. Did giving your food away result in you having nothing to eat? Do you see how hard karmic seeds are? In the moment, it appears that way. But our hunger, our having nothing to eat now is not related to the giving food away now. It's just like so hard to get that in our head. Because by nature, giving something away means you don't have it. But technically, if we didn't have the gap, the instant you gave away, something would show up. And you give away and show up, give away and show up, right? We can like kind of get a glimpse of what Buddha paradise is going to be. Like this outgoing, but never You can't say outgoing because there's incoming all at the same time. I don't know, it's hard. So Yang Yang Lun Dorwa is that we're willing to do unkindness in order to take care of this thing, because our concern for this thing overrides our concern for other. And that's a suffering that we don't even recognize is a suffering. We think that's normal human behavior. It is normal, ignorant human behavior, and it's a suffering. And they call it the suffering of again and again shedding our body. Because we take the karma with us of what we did to protect this body when we're just going to shed it anyway. But it can leave the wrong idea. It's not meaning, oh, just ditch caring for your body, because it won't last long if we don't take care of it. Next one, Yang Yang Ningsam Jorwa. Oh, little bug creep just popped out. I'm sorry, the punchline from the one before, in case it didn't come across, is we shed these bodies over and over again, but we collect negative karma on behalf of the bodies, and we don't shed that. So Yang Yang Ningsam Jorwa. Ningsam means threshold. Jorwa means to go over the threshold. It's the term they use for being reborn. Ningsam Jorwa, to go over the threshold. So over and over and over again, we go over the threshold, meaning we're reborn again and again. So first, the one before was we shed our bodies over and over. The second one, we cross the threshold into another life over and over and over again. The process, the karmic seeds ripening, shedding body, meaning dying. That process of seeds ripening, and technically seeds planting as we're going through it, there are energies ripening that are pushing us to this threshold. And then there are energies which ripen, which project us over that threshold. That period of to the threshold and over it is bardo, is the in-between death of this life and start of the next one. And those energies are defective. They were made in a misunderstood way, right? A me that exists independent of other factors, other that exists independent of other factors, and an interaction that brings what comes next. All mistaken. Not mistaken in the sense that what we do is not happening, but mistaken in the sense that what we do to get what we want isn't actually what brings us what we want. So that this energy, this process that pushes us into a lifetime, drives that lifetime. And because that energy is changing, it is the energy that drives us into aging and illness in whatever order, ending in the ripening of end of life, ripening of death. And so because those very energies that are pushing us, by which I mean karmic seeds, because all those karmic seeds were planted ignorantly, they all are ripening with that ignorant stain. And that makes us choose behaviors colored by that ignorant stain, which makes us perpetuate the cycle, right? We all know that. And every time we hear it, it sinks in a little bit more deeply, how that very process is existence. And it's not the process that's bad or wrong. It's the mistake that believes that what I do in the moment brings what comes next. Because that's where all our expectations and our disappointments and everything lies, is in that belief. Okay, so pushing us into a next life is inevitable by way of the changing nature of these stained seeds that have pushed us into the life that we're losing. So to come to the end of one life is gonna push us into the next one. And so that suffering of losing one life and being pushed into another involuntarily is this suffering. We have this suffering of being pushed over the threshold into a next life the instant we're born into this life. When we have the goodness to be pushed into a human birth, and a human birth that has the circumstances where our needs are met enough that we're not struggling for survival, and those seeds have the goodness to ripen as meeting a spiritual path, right, that we're attracted to, and those seeds have the goodness to have the intelligence to understand the path and the goodness to be able to practice the path. That like is this amazing, exquisite, teeny little window of opportunity, a ripening of amazing goodness that we are hopefully replanting some of by way of our study, and we are, right, using up. So Geshe always says, do something to act on something that you've learned from each class. No, I wasn't always able to do that. But to hear something from class and then immediately act in some way from it helps plant the seeds to keep getting more. To learn something new and then set it aside, right, is seeds for learning but not using. Yeah. Okay. Yang Yang Ningsam Dorwa. Let's take a break. Stop share. Pause recording. Back. So we have the 6 sufferings of human and pleasure beings is that nothing is fixed. There's no certainty. Nothing is ever satisfactory. We're never satisfied. We shed our bodies over and over, and we take with us the karmic seeds of everything we did on behalf of that body. we are forced into a rebirth over and over again by way of the seeds that we planted in every moment before, since forever. We shed the body, we're forced into rebirth. Number 5, yang yang, again and again. Domen du gyurwa. Gyurwa means change. Domen means high to low. High to low, high to low, high to low, high to low. So after high comes low. And of course, after low comes high. But we would say after low comes high is not a suffering. The suffering is after high comes low, right? Meaning we finally get that promotion. And maybe we keep it for the rest of our lives and then we die. Oh, maybe we're in that promotion, who knows, a month, a year, 10 years, and it becomes a pain in the butt. Or the company changes and we're doing a great job and they still fire us. Or now, you're 80 years old doing that job. We want a young guy in it, right? Whatever. The karma shifts and we don't keep it. So there is this suffering that over and over again, the highs turn to lows. We get what we want and it changes. We lose it. And then of course, after low comes high, something else comes along and we want it. We do whatever we think we need to get it. Maybe we get it and we think, yay, now I'll be happy. And that alone is a suffering, isn't it? To expect that getting that new job will be the source of our happiness. Is it a happiness to get that dream job? Sure. But wisdom says it's only a happiness because we helped somebody else get their dream job, have their dream job. So how am I going to keep this being my dream job? Use it to help other people's jobs be their dream job. So if you're the supervisor in the company, right, our human habit is, I'm going to get my team to do really well because I want my reputation, right? I want the benefit. We can't help it. We're not bad. No, it's not about that. It's about the misunderstanding that colors the seeds. Without it, we wouldn't be motivated to do anything until what motivates us is our bodhicitta, right? Then we would take that dream job so that we could help each member of our team just thrive beyond belief, even if it meant somebody in the member of my team would end up getting my dream job. Like putting ourselves out of business because we help somebody else get so good. And it's like, come on, human nature would be resentful, wouldn't it? I mentored that fellow and then he got my job and I got pushed out of the company. It would leave me upset instead of, yay, right? I did such a good job mentoring that person that he got better than me. It's hard. It's a human suffering not to be able to rejoice in that. Yang yang domen dung gyurwa. After high comes low. Why does it have to be that way? Because what we do to get to the high isn't always so kind. If we did nothing but kindness to bring about that high state, the pleasurable state, if we did nothing but kindness to bring that about, would it wear out? I mean, technically, if our kindness was not imbued with wisdom, it would still wear out. But in order to do nothing but kindness, we would have to have a pretty high level of wisdom, because life throws at us circumstances where it's really hard to be acting from the level of kindness that would be the kind of seed planting that would contribute to that high not ever wearing out. In a human perception, highs wear out, but not because there's something about great jobs that wear out. It's because of the seed ripening that the great job turns to a not such great job. When our seeds are always colored with wisdom, compassion, and love, let's call those three different things, although they're not. The seeds we plant with that color of our mind are somehow seeds. They say seeds that don't wear out. But my own explanation to myself, and I'm not sure it's correct, is that those seeds are so instantly perpetuated that it's as if they never wear out. You know, as your Buddha, your emanation being is instantly replanting compassion, love, and wisdom as experiences are happening. So it's like we have that long gap. As omniscient beings, there is no gap. So you're ripening and planting simultaneously. So things don't wear out. And that means we are perceiving all existing things in all times at all times. Right? It's still seed shifting, but they're being perpetuated, I believe. So this high to low, high to low, high to low, high to low. It is a human suffering that we don't notice. Doesn't have to be, but it characterizes human. Last one, number 6, drok mikpa. Drok means companion. Mepa is there is none. Right? So this 6th suffering is that we have no companion. And we might say that what that alludes to is at death, right? We go through death alone. Doesn't matter how many people are at your bedside. We'll hear it more specifically as we're going through the experience that we call dying. The brain function is breaking down, and our karmic seed experience is that our ability to think through something is riding on brain function. And so as brain function breaks down, that ability to have a coherent thought, to understand what's going on, to experience things in a way that makes sense is breaking down. And our faculty of seeing breaks down, our faculty of smelling, etc. It's all breaking down. And the experience of the one going through it, it's just chaos. And there is no awareness of the people around. You're all by yourself, not like me, Sarani, all by myself, but the mind, the subject side, the me is like blah, right? And it's terrifically frightening and painful. So, okay, you know, in those moments of dying, that's a human and pleasure being suffering, but this goes beyond that. it says, no, actually, in every instant of human and pleasure being life, we are technically alone. And it's like, I guess so, because our own perspective is always unique to us, and we really can't share it, right? We could have an identical twin that we live with for our whole life, and still we would have different opinions. We would see our friend, the pan, unique to each of us. Every experience is unique to each one of us. And in that way, we are alone. We really can't share. And then deeper yet in this suffering is that we alone make and carry and ripen the karmic seeds of what we think, do, and say. And we want so desperately for somebody else to be able to take our seeds, help me. Even as we're growing our bodhicitta, we want so desperately to be able to take somebody's seeds and help them feel better. And it's a suffering not to be able to do that. Like, have you felt that? Been around somebody that you can see so clearly the mistaken perception that they're having in a situation that they're suffering from so badly. And it's like, you wish you could just like, I could just show you, if I could just take those seeds, you would, right? This would all be over for you. And we just can't. There's nothing we can say. There's nothing we can do but be there for them, right? It's like, it hurts. Compassion is painful from a human perspective because we want so badly to help. And whatever we try, maybe it'll help, maybe it won't. Even if it does, it'll be temporary. It hurts to love so much. It hurts to have that much compassion, which is what drives us to, I've got to reach that state where I can know exactly, where I can be exactly what they need, right? That's our emanation being, is we be for them. So why am I talking about that? Drog mekpa, no companion, means we alone carry our karma. Technically, we are our karma and nothing but. Which means nobody, not even Buddha, can take or fix our karmic pool. We have to do it ourselves. We get to do it ourselves. We have the power to do it ourselves. But then it's our responsibility to do it ourselves. So our morality is our responsibility. And technically, once we're on this spiritual path, our morality is our sole responsibility. Others' morality is not our responsibility. And that's where we tend to go through this stage in our growing wisdom. It's like, whoa, I have the answer to everybody's suffering. If everybody just knew this, we would all behave so much better and everybody's suffering would stop. And so we turn our mind to other people's behavior and we say, if you stop doing that and you do this, you'd be so much happier. And do you remember when you were a teenager and your parents said, don't do that, do this, be sure to do this. And as a teenager, it's like, don't tell me what to do, right? The same for when we impose our level of morality on somebody else. It's probably not going to be received very well until they're the one who's saying, wow, can you help me with something? Then they give us this window of opportunity. But until then, our tendency to impose our belief and understanding and use of morality on somebody else goes sour, their morality is not our responsibility. What we see them doing is our seeds. We don't change our seeds by going to them and saying, you've got to stop lying. Right? We change our seeds by setting examples such that they finally ask our opinion about something. And then we have the doorway to make suggestions to help. We alone are the makers, keepers, and experiences of our karma. That doesn't seem like that's a suffering. It's a suffering from a human perspective because we want so desperately for somebody else to fix it for us. You know, that's why we go to the doctor. They are going to fix it for us. And guess what? Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, right? Because they can't fix it for us. They are only serving as the vehicle of our karmic ripenings. It's a suffering to have this expectation that somebody else is there for us. Somebody else can fix it. Somebody else can help us. Can other people help us? Can appear that way if we've helped others. Yeah. So yes, we have other people around us. This does not mean we are the only real person in our world. That's not what this means at all. It means we are the ones solely responsible for everything that we experience. And when we don't understand that, that's when it's a suffering. Do you see? Technically, all of these are not in and of themselves suffering. It's that we don't understand them to be the nature of how our seeds are being ripened and planted. And that's what makes it a suffering. None of them have to be suffering at all. In fact, they can be reasons. They can be opportunities to transform all of them. Okay, so, I think I didn't look at your meditation assignment, but it's gonna be something about looking at these 6 kinds of sufferings and checking out to see whether or not you believe you have one. So, you can probably choose the one that's most obvious and show it to yourself, or choose the one that's not so obvious and show it to yourself, or think about them and say, well, what about them could actually be beneficial, could actually be helpful, so that this relationship to human suffering that we don't even know we have, let alone others have, we could actually use it to our advantage. So they're subtle for humans. These same 6 are even more subtle for pleasure beings. They become less subtle in those last, period of time when their pleasure being seeds are wearing out and they become aware that they're losing it and that they're going to fall. And then these kick in big time, apparently. Yes, Roxana.
Thank you, dear Lama. I just wanted to share. It's about almost 8 years that I took this course with you. And I remember back then that I would buy pretty expensive creams for my face.
Yeah.
And from that time on, I thought, no more expensive creams, just ordinary creams. Anyway, you're going to die. Invest that money helping somebody else or do something with it. So I remember, reflecting on that. So what's the use of buying a same product that at the end it's not going to help you?
Yeah. And look how beautiful your skin is.
Oh, thank you. Well, wisdom taught me that it's through kindness that you are able to maintain your
Exactly.
health and everything. I was thinking when you were saying about right now that we can't take anyone's suffering away. When when my seeds ripen to see somebody really suffering and then I can't do anything, I just wish I offer all my goodness and all my virtue and all my merit that I've done just to help that being that it's in that state of suffering. So not
Exactly.
even that helps, right, dear Lama?
Well, it does and it doesn't, right? It's
I
like
don't know.
we can always Tonglen is that punchline. We can always do something to try to help. The way it helps is by the way it changes our own seeds. It, so yes, it helps because their suffering is nothing but our own seeds. So yes, it does help. But to an outer world being who doesn't understand about karmic seeds, we would say, no, nothing about your prayer touches them. And it's like, right, well, nothing about anything I do touches them, which is why we can touch them, why we can help them. Uh, it's, it's, it's slippery and subtle how it is that we do help others by way of our own karmic seeds changing. Yeah, nice. Mm.
Thank
So
you.
this completes class 4. We're done a whole half an hour earlier, even though I went off on tangents. So let's do our closing prayers. And then if you have questions, comments, discussions, I'm happy to stay. If you want the extra 30 minutes to go do something else, I'm happy to do that too. So remember that being we wanted to be able to help at the beginning of class. We learned a lot that we will use sooner or later to help them in that deep and ultimate way. And that's an extraordinary goodness. So please be happy with yourself. And think of this goodness like a beautiful glowing gemstone that you can hold in your hands. Recall your own precious holy being. See how happy they are with you. Feel your gratitude to them, your reliance upon them. Ask them to please stay close, to continue to guide you, help you, inspire you. And then offer them this gemstone of goodness. See them accept it and bless it. And they carry it with them right back into your heart. See them there, feel them there. Their love, their compassion, their wisdom. It feels so good, we want to keep it forever. And so we know to share it by the power of the goodness that we've just done. May all beings complete the collection of merit and wisdom, and thus gain the two ultimate bodies that merit and wisdom make. So use those 3 long exhales to share this goodness with that one person, being. Share it with everyone you love. Share it with every existing being everywhere. See them all filled with the wisdom of loving kindness. And may it be so. So the bottom line of all of these is refuse to be willing to make a negative karmic seed on behalf of others or on behalf of your own body. Just refuse to do negative seeds. Like if it were that easy to just decide, okay, no more selfishness, You know, we'd be perceiving ourselves as Buddhas in Buddha paradise already. It's not something we can just turn on our willpower and quit doing. Which is why we study, we meditate to drive it deeper. We take it off the cushion to try it on for size. That's called serving. So we study, we meditate, we serve. And then we study, meditate, and serve. Meditate, study, meditate, serve, right? Really, it's like this. So that, yeah, good. You know, I'm preaching to the choir, as they say. But it helps us all to hear it again and again and again. Yeah. Okay. All right, so that's all I have to say. I'm happy to open to any question about anything if you like. Yes, Victor.
Teacher, uh, I have this question because every time you mention that at at the end of our life, if one seed is going to project, I mean that stinginess, stingers seed or whatever bad seeds is going to project, that will bring to our next life into either the craving being or to the spirit being or hell realm. But then my question is like, when we die, we go into the bardo, then from the bardo, only then we go to the next life. So where is that exact moment happen? Is it like before the bardo, or it's like the moment when we are dying, then our last breath, that is the time it happened?
Yeah. So the projecting karma is what they call the karma that that goes next at what's called the moment of death. So the moment of death in this tradition is the moment the mind leaves the body. So in physical world experience, the body dies when the heart and breath stops, and then the brain function ceases. And the mind has not yet left the body at that point in most beings. In traumatic death, the mind is like ejected from the body pretty swiftly, but in, you know, laying in bed, kind of slow onset dying, the body dies, and it takes time yet before the mind reaches the experience that we're calling the projected karma, right? So let's have the perspective of we're the living ones and we're watching the dying person, right? They finally, last breath, go, they're dead. They're dead. This tradition would say their body's dead. But until we get these certain signs, the mind is still in there somewhere. And it may take a few hours, it may take a few days, it may even take a week, 10 days, 2 weeks for a practitioner to move their mind away. But that's different. This is like ordinary human. The way we know the mind has left, they say, is that suddenly there'll be fluids that come out the nose or the other orifices. Like they've been dead for a little while, and then all of a sudden something drips here. I don't quite understand the connection, but that's the indication that the consciousness is no longer connected to what we're calling the body. Now, if we try to imagine the being who's going through that, when the process of dying starts, we've talked about those elements in our body, right? Earth, water, fire, wind. The seeds ripening, me living. has these four elements in every moment. And what happens as we start into the dying process is our karmic seeds' earth element has lost power. And so as our seeds are ripening, they ripen without earth element. And that means water element is getting into predominance. And we have a certain vision that if we were aware of the vision and knew, like it meant, oh, my earth element has dissolved away, we'd be able to know to expect that the water element's going to stop being projected and fire element would. So we go through these series of visions that an untrained person doesn't recognize they're scary. A trained person goes, ah, right, I'm starting the process, we can use it. So as that's happening, if your seeds no longer have solidity, then there's no solidity in your experience, which means your awareness of your body laying on a bed is gone. So you go through this process. Everything's like gone, 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 gone. There's still a wearing happening. At some point, that awaring happening reaches the final end of what we would call this life. Although by then it's like nothing similar to this life at all. It's chaos. And then the next seed that pops out of this pool of karma where this is all bubbling along, right? Bunk. And then with that one, of course, it's in an instant. So there's actually 65. That's got it's an impulse. And so if that mind that's going through this chaos, if it's like underlying theme is, craving and selfishness and possessiveness, then the likelihood of this impulse that is the next one to bubble out of this soup is going to be, right, possessiveness. And at that moment, that mind experiences itself in the in-between. It's died. It isn't reborn yet. It's in between, and that's Bardo. So that Bardo being is already headed towards the realm, meaning it's already bubbling out of the soup of its karmic seeds. It's full-on appearance in its full-on next life. It takes time for that to bubble out, right, of this soup. And that period of time that it takes for that next life to manifest is called Bardo. So the projecting karma happens at the end of the death of the previous life, and it defines the start of Bardo, except if that seed is going to ripen us into formless realm. As we learned, formless realm needs no Bardo because it's just there, right? You see, so the dying is this process that the last instant and the next, you see, it's still 65 per instant happening. It's just life, dying, dead, Bardo, next birth, right? Constant. Yeah. Like,
Thank you, teacher, for such a detailed
yeah,
explanation.
be careful what you ask. Anything else?
I
Yes,
have a
the-
question. Oh, I'm sorry, Pia, go right ahead, please.
I don't find the hand, and I don't find the hand.
That's okay. Yeah, I don't know where that is either.
Teacher, yeah, I don't know in the East, but in the West, we used to do a very express death sometimes to our people, to our family, and so the doctors say, okay, your mom doesn't eat anymore. We are going to put her morphine, and so in 24 hours she's going to be dead. And me, I had this experience with my mom. She didn't want to die then. And at that moment, they don't give them more to eat, not to drink. And it was really painful for me to see my mom. She was not dying. And the doctors, he said, I have to go to pick up more morphine, more everything because she's not dying. She should die, but she's not. And it
Oh,
took like 7 days to see my mom dying. For me, it was like terrible because she couldn't eat, she couldn't drink. It was like, and how this affect later also with these projecting seeds and these seeds ripening, because this is a very painful process. We don't leave people just die in peace, just doing nothing, just letting them die.
yeah.
It's always pushing, pushing, pushing
Mm.
for people to die. I don't know if in all the countries it's the same, but at least in my area of the world, it's like this. And
So I was at a program on hospice, by the hospice nurse. And someone asked a similar question. And she said in her experience, it's very common that the person, even if they don't like intellectually know they're dying, the fact that they stop eating, and so forth, it's like deep down they are aware. But she said her experience is the family would say, they need to eat. Let's get them to eat. Can't we get them to eat? And the nurse said, look, it'll be more uncomfortable for them to be fed than to not eat at this point, because this is the time where the body is shutting down and they are processing things. And even if they're alert enough to still be talking to you, if we were to feed them, the food would just fester inside there and it would make them more and more uncomfortable. So once the person stops eating, don't force them to eat. Then she went on to talk about medicating them, and the family would often say, don't drug them up. They want to be alert as they die. And the nurse said that the experience in hospice is that the anxiety gets so strong that even if it's like their ability to be alert enough to go through the, saying goodbye to everybody, they can't do that because the anxiety gets so bad that then they can't hear what you say and they react badly, and right, it's like it makes it worse to not give them something to let them be calm. And so what I heard her saying is that the giving the sedatives is to give them the opportunity that their body calms down so that their spirit or soul or whatever they're relating to has this ability to let go when the time is right. So, I hear what you're saying. The doctor's attitude is she should be dead already. But
yes.
That you kept her there, she kept her comfortable. She went when the time was right for her to leave. it took that many seed moments of wearing off. So, you know, ideally, we sit down in meditation and meditate until the body, the seeds for having that body are done. And we move our mind to the next place, consciously, intentionally. But, you know, that takes huge ability to concentrate through the worst chaos. Like, could you sit in meditation as your city was being overrun by vandals and, you know, armies? Could you just stay on the park bench meditating? You know, not I. And it's worse in dying. So I hear your struggle with mom, you know, I wish I could say something to make it better. When you get there with dad, right? Your understanding will be different.
Yes,
Don't force him to eat. You know, if they want to sedate him, let them sedate him and whisper to him, whatever his religious belief is, whisper to him about it. Whisper to him about all the amazing kindness that he's done. Not just you've been so kind, you were so generous, you were so helpful. Remember that time, right? He's not remembering, he's beyond all that. But your guidance will help him. Say over and over again, like if he believes in Jesus or Mother Mary, watch for Mother Mary, she's going to come. Watch for the angel, she's going to come. Watch for mom, she's going to come. Reach out to them, go to them, right? Everything positive, positive instruction about what to go to. Throw in there, there'll be this brightness, there'll be this clarity. That's your true nature, right? You can help his mind go, regardless of what's going on with body. The body is not him.
yeah.
And he'll be beyond the experience of the body that you are seeing it go through. He'll be beyond that already.
Thank you, teacher.
Yeah, good.
Thank you.
Good. We can help people die. Okay. Yes, so Roxana, you had something.
No, it's concerning what's like day-to-day dilemma. Thank you for
Oh.
sharing that.
Yeah.
So I'll be almost at the pool at that time. So you said
Okay.
that in that vase, my tray is the one who's holding the vase, the water vase.
No, he has it on this big rock that's an altar, and he's standing behind it with this staff, and he's pointing up to the sky with this staff, you know, invoking Buddha to come. And then when Buddha shows up, of course, the blessing's going everywhere. So some of it's going into the vase. So I guess it just pops in my mind now, put a vase of water outside,
Right.
you know,
Right.
an open vase of water.
Okay. And then I thought if I'm gonna be at that around 10 o'clock in the morning in the pool, it's like, oh, I'm bathing on this.
You are bathing in it. Yeah.
Yes.
Nice. Enjoy.
Okay. Thank you. It's so wonderful.
Yes, Chris.
So what about animals? Because I was raised to believe that when an animal gets old, that it's the proper thing to do
Yeah,
to have them put down.
I know, me
And
too.
now I don't really think that's the right thing to do. And I
Yeah.
have a like 15-year-old little deer dog, and I'm like, it's like I'm trying to get prepared to, like, no matter what, I'm gonna, and is that sort of the, you know, I'm gonna help her through naturally, whatever it takes. And because it's so much, it's like inconvenient to have a sick pet, right? You know?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and having come to that conclusion yourself, it's way more powerful than to hear a spiritual teacher say, you know, you shouldn't do that. But it's because of your connection. And so as you're right, our society says it's right to put them down, but it's because it's inconvenient. you know, you're not going to take time off work to stay home and help your dog. I'll do it for my mom, you know, and maybe my brother if he doesn't have anybody else, but not the dog, you know. And yet here's this being that is a being who was my mother. It is that being was my mother from before, is my mother from before. It's like they deserve the same kind of care, but also the same kind of opportunity. Can we guide that mind from animal realm into the clear light so that they can see their own true nature? I mean, that being could come back as a human in the Dharma who sees emptiness directly when they're 5 years old, right? And goes on to become a great teacher because you touched seeds in their mind as they're dying that help them like skip grades. You can do it.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Poor little thing. Yeah.
She's
Okay.
not there. She's not dying yet. I'm just.
Yeah. But let us know when the time is coming close. We'll all add our juju to make it be easy. Because it's not easy. It's hard.
There was I go for a walk at the beach whenever I can every day, and there was a guy who had an old dachshund, and its eyes were drooping, and he was obviously blind, and he had wounds, and it was like, and had him in a stroller,
Oh,
and he
sweet.
would take him there every day, and the dog would go bark, bark, all of it. You knew where he was because you could hear the dog, and I so admired him. I thought, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to, if even have to put her in a stroller
Sweet.
and push her around.
Cute. Oh,
That's funny.
lucky dog.
Yeah.
Sweet. Nice. You know, the ACI, Geshe-less worldview organizations, there's that new one. What is it? Blue Sky People or something like that?
Prayers for the world. Is that
Yeah,
one?
Prayers for the World, but that's a part of this new one that has to do with not just healing prayers, but guiding people in dying and so forth. The organization has a name beyond that, but it's like focused on learning from this tradition how you help people. My experience is, not directly from our Jetsun Kappa lineage, it's from the Tibetan, and then from personal experience. So it'll be interesting to see how that group is able to bring forth guidance, right, for the rest of us. Okay. All right, my dears. This is Monday. I will see you Friday for more on the realms of existence. Yeah. Okay. Thanks so much. I'm stopping the recording. Yes.